Hello everyone, my name is Heather and welcome to the channel Bookables. So today I'm doing a little bit of a different video. I'm doing another recently watched. I've done a few of these over the years. I did really good with it last year. It's been a long time since I've done one because honestly, like I have phases where I don't watch anything. I'm kind of in that phase right now. And I have phases where I watch everything. So I do have a list of things I've watched since I think like November or December. I don't know, I don't watch a ton of things, honestly. Like number one, I don't have the time. Number two, I don't know. I get very picky about things. That's just me. There's no really rhyme or reason to what I'm about to share with you. So I'm going to start with the movies and then I'm going to start with shows because I do have quite a bit of shows, coincidentally. Usually I don't watch a lot of shows because it's more investment. I don't know. Anyway, let's get into it. So first up, my best friend's exorcism. So if you don't know, I read the book that this is based on in September, I want to say, of 2022, and I loved it. 5 out of 5, one of my favorite books of the whole entire year. So I was very excited to watch the movie, but unfortunately, it was not that great. It was okay. I think that, the book to movie adaptations, book to show, book to screen, whatever you want to call it, really got very popular with YA books a while ago, and a lot of them really soured my taste when it comes to book to screen adaptations. So I don't watch a ton of them. I was excited about this one because I thought it would be a fun transition. I thought it could be a great one that was done. And it was okay. It just wasn't 100% there for me. I think they really missed a lot on the 80s mark because I think that's one thing that was really great about the book is how 80s it was. The movie did somewhat on that, but it just wasn't rememberable and I will not be rewatching it. I will say my favorite part of the whole movie was Brother Lemon, which I liked him in the book too. I like the actor. I think he's great, but I don't know if I would recommend it if you love the book. I don't think it's necessary to watch it at all, honestly. So I gave it like a 3 out of 5. It was not, it was just kind of okay. I didn't loathe it, but I didn't love it. So it's like kind of right there in the middle. Moving on to Bullet Train. I was really excited for this one. If you don't know, I don't go to like movies anymore, so I have to wait till they come out on like Amazon Prime and things like that. So I waited a while for Bullet Train and I did really enjoy it. It reminded me a lot of Kill Bill, even though it's not even directed by Quentin Tarantino. Is it? I don't think so. But it's got a very similar style. The one thing I don't love is how raunchy it is, and I know that's like everyone's got their opinions on that. Me, I just don't love it a ton for that. But as far as the overall story goes about an assassin going on the train with a whole bunch of other assassins, like I thought it was really interesting. I thought the plot twists weren't really that great, but it was very well acted. It was great. The one character that compared everybody to a Thomas the Train character, like he would say one's a diesel, one's like... and I thought that was hilarious because my son, like I know all the Thomas the Train character names, like Thomas, Percy, James, Gordon, like I know them all. So the fact that he was like, you're a diesel, you're a locomotive, you're like Thomas, you're like Percy. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so relevant, but also true. It was hilarious. I think his name was Tangerine, but it was a really good movie and I would recommend watching it. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I enjoyed it. It was a fun one. I don't know if I'd rewatch it again, but I had a good time watching it. Next up is Cabinets of Curiosities. This could be under shows, but I count them all as like mini movies. And they were kind of created by, oh my goodness, Guillermo del Toro. I'm not good at that. But this intrigued me. I don't know why. It just really was interesting to me. And I think it's each kind of short movies directed by a different person. And I want to say there's like 6 to 7 of them. And honestly, I was expecting a lot more. There was a few that I really enjoyed. Like one that I did not think that I would enjoy, I ended up loving. And one that I thought I would love, I didn't. So my top 2 favorites, my number 1, The Autopsy. I loved that one. It was super creepy, super weird. I did not expect to love that one as much as I did. I would give that one a 5 out of 5, honestly. Like, it takes place, I think, in like the 60s or 70s. Basically, a whole bunch of these miners die. They really don't know until this police chief calls for his friend, an autopsy guy, to come kind of perform autopsies. And so he's performing autopsies and things get dicey, quite literally, and it is freaky. It was really good. I think a lot of people will agree that that's probably the best out of all of them. Now, as far as gore factor goes, it's not really up there, but there's a lot of them up there that are gross. Like there's one that's about rats. So gross. There's one with Ronald Weasley in it, Rupert Grint, and I was very excited for that one because Ronald Weasley, but honestly, that was one of my least favorite ones. He wasn't bad in it, but the story was not good, honestly. Like, I was like, No. And the other one I enjoyed was The Murmuring. This one was a lot about grief and things like that. It's about a couple that has lost their child, and they study the flight migration of birds, and they go to this house, and it's kind of haunted, if you will, and it's just a very beautiful kind of short movie about grief and love, kind of paranormal. But The Autopsy, if I could recommend you one to watch out of all of them, would be The Autopsy, hands down. The other ones, honestly, are quite forgettable. But as far as like cinematography goes, like top notch, up there. We have Luckiest Girl Alive. So this is another book to screen adaptation, and this is one that I have not read the source material. This one was very popular a long time ago. I want to say when I first started BookTube, this was very popular, and so I tried reading it. Could not get into it, so I DNF'd it. I think I tried reading it like 3 different times. I just did not get into it, and I can see why, because I only gave it a 3 out of 5. It just wasn't there for me. I love Mila Kunis. I think she's a great actress, but this one is all about a character that has a very deep, dark secret. She's trying to get married and move on with her life, but her secret keeps coming up to like expose who she really is. And it was boring. Not a lot happened. It was supposed to be dark and twisty, and I really didn't feel like it was dark and twisty. I don't know, it just wasn't that great for me. Very forgettable as well. I know I keep saying that, but that's just how I feel, so I gave it 3 out of 5. This is the movie about Weird Al Yankovic that Harry Potter, aka Daniel Radcliffe, stars. And my husband and I watched this because we'd heard good reviews about it. It was supposed to be a very satiric, comedic movie. And I will tell you, the first half of it, amazing. I would give it a 5 out of 5. Like, it is hilarious. Like, Weird Al, like, you know, it's based on Weird Al, but it's so far from the truth that you just have to realize that going into it, that it's just completely satirical. Like, in the movie, Weird Al gets, an accordion, starts learning polka in secret because his father forbids it, and then he gets invited to his friends by this party, and it turns out it's like this secret polka party, and it gets crazy, and I'm like, just so ridiculous. And then the second half comes around, and it just becomes like fun and crazy and kooky to just flat out like, what? With the whole Madonna segment, with like the mafia, and I was like, I don't know, like it just really took it there, I guess you could say, and not in a good way. Daniel Radcliffe did great as Weird Al, a sentence I thought I'd never say, but here we are. So I would give this one a 3 out of 5. Like, the first half I loved. I thought it was weird, I thought it was kooky, I thought it was fun, and the second half was just like too weird as that sounds. I don't know. I didn't get it. I didn't get it. Sad to say. I will talk a movie that I have not finished, and I will talk about it, and that's Elvis, because everyone loves Elvis. It's got nominated for Oscars. Austin Butler got nominated for an Oscar, and I did not finish it. Both my husband and I started it, did not finish it. He was a big Elvis fan when he was younger. Like, he loves Elvis. He knows all the stuff and everything. And I appreciate music. He's taught me a lot of different music with oldies and, you know, retro and classic rock, things like that. I just couldn't get into this one. I think it's fully 100% of the way the director shot it. Baz Luhrmann did it, and if you don't know who he is, he did the Great Gatsby one with Leonardo DiCaprio. Is another one that I was just like, it's just, it is not my style of movies. Like, I do not connect well with his style. Like, his style is very brash and bright and bold and very just, it changes a lot throughout the movie. Like, I feel like I saw 10 different styles of cinematography within like 2 hours. And not only that, but he does a thing with, he does a lot of historical movies where he'll put current music into it, and I just don't jive well with that for some reason. So that's just, I don't know. I just don't, me and Baz Luhrmann, I just can't really get on board with his visions, I guess you could say, but that could be just me. I mean, people love this movie. I will say Austin Butler did a phenomenal job as Elvis. Like, I fully stand by his Oscar nomination, but I could not get into the movie. I think it was too much about his manager that I really didn't care about. I really wanted more about Elvis, you know, the musician, more so than the manager, but I just couldn't get into it, and I didn't finish it, and I really don't have a desire to finish it. I don't know. I know I'm the odd one out here, but I just thought I'd be transparent with you. So I can't rate it because I didn't finish it. And the last movie I watched was Glass Onion. So this is kind of like the sequel, or not so kind of sequel, like kind of companion to Knives Out, which is one of my favorite movies. I love Knives Out. It reminded me a lot of Clue. I love Clue with Tim Curry in it, so I was very excited for Glass Onion, and I have to say I really enjoyed it. I did not enjoy it nearly as much as Knives Out, but it's just a fun, if you want a fun murder mystery that will keep you guessing, that has all unlikable characters but you can't help but watch, this series is a great one to watch. Both Knives Out and Glass Onion have all the characters unlikable. Like, they're all horrible people, but somehow you're really entranced by what's happening and you want to figure out what is going on, and I really enjoyed this one. It was a fun time. You know, Knives Out is more like the fall kind of gothic horror type of one setting, and Glass Onion is more like set in a summery tropical island with Edward Norton and Kate Hudson and Dave Bautista. Like, it's got, you know, they're awesome. I do really enjoy them, and they're a fun series, and I will continue to watch more of them if he decides to make more. I can't even think of the guy's name that's starring in it or his character's name. I'm horrible, but either way, it's a fun time. On to shows. I have watched a lot of shows. First up is Only Murders in the Building. You have to forgive me, it has been a long time since I watched this. So I decided to watch this randomly, like I want to say in the fall. And I loved it. I was not expecting to love it as much as I did. So this is a Hulu original, and it stars Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez, which is a cast that I never thought would gel well together, but somehow does. They live in this old kind of hotel type of building that's full of apartments, an apartment building, the Arcadia, I want to say. And basically a murder happens, and they all decide to like do a podcast about it called Only Murders in the Building, and it gets really intense. You try to figure out like who's the murderer and things like that. I will say I like the first season more than the second one. I just thought it was more compelling, but it's a fun show. It's funny. It's mystery thrilling. It's a show within a show because you're watching how a podcast is made and how they're all struggling in their jobs and things like that. And it's interesting. So I really enjoyed it. I would give both seasons, maybe season 1 like a 4.5 and maybe season 2 like a 4 out of 5. I liked them, would highly recommend it. It's not like super dark. As you can tell, I don't like a lot of dark things because I got enough going on in my life, okay? I don't like to watch stuff like that, but I really enjoyed Only Murders in the Building. It was a good show. Speaking of a good show, House of Dragon. I wasn't planning to watch this one either. Of course, the hype got to me because everyone who is anyone has watched House of Dragon. I did watch a little bit of Game of Thrones. I couldn't 100% get into it, but I kept up with all of the goings on with it because that's just me. I like doing that. I like knowing who's what character, how it finished, and things like that. And I have to say, I like House of Dragon more. And I think because Game of Thrones is such a huge world with so many different like areas, so many different characters that it gets really confusing for me very fast. That's probably why I'm not a big fantasy reader, because my tiny brain can absorb only so much. I just feel stupid when I read them. I just really do. But House of Dragon is a little bit more like condensed, if you will, where we strictly follow this family, the Targaryen family, and the Targaryen Great War that happened. So it was easier for me to keep up with because we had a smaller cast of characters and they all were kind of throughout this one family and they're all kind of connected to one another. Does that make sense? But either way, honestly, 5 out of 5. Like, it was a great show. Like, a lot of people were very much doubting it. Maybe not. It was The Rings of Power, which I still need to watch. But House of Dragon killed it. Like, it deserves all the awards because it kept me entranced. Like, I'm very excited to see what they're going to do next. Like, it gets dark. It gets stuff. I know about the Targaryen War. I learned about it before even the show came on. But I'm invested and I'm excited to see what they're going to do next with it. Then we have Wednesday, the new Netflix show that stars Wednesday Addams. And I was intrigued by this. I haven't watched much of the Addams Family. The only one I really watched was when Christina Ricci was Wednesday Addams. Like, I was a big Christina Ricci fan. Like, that girl had a phenomenal career when she was younger. Like, she was Wednesday Addams. She was in Casper. She was in Now and Then. Like, she was in a lot of different movies and shows that I really enjoyed. So, Jenna Ortega stars as Wednesday, and it was fun. It was a fun show. It's directed by Tim Burton, and it clearly shows of how it's shot and how things like that. It could have been darker, I'll say that. Like, I thought it was more like kind of teen oriented, which makes sense because Wednesday Addams is a teen. She goes to this school, Nevermore, and things like that. It's paranormal. I did enjoy it. I would give it a 4 out of 5. I liked it. I thought the ending with the plot twist was really good. I would like to see it a little bit darker, a little bit more like kind of grittier, if you will. But maybe that's just me. But I thought it was a fun time, and I will continue on watching it. A show that I don't know. I just decided to check out The White Lotus. This is on HBO Max, and has 2 seasons, and they both have a resort. Like the first one's in Maui, the second one's in Italy, I want to say. And basically what happens in this is, the best way I can describe it is, it really reminds me of the book Big Little Lies by Liam Moriarty, where it's about a cast of characters, but a murder happens, but that's kind of at the back burner. You're mostly focused on the characters till the very end when you like, oh, a murder's happening. That's exactly how The White Lotus is. It's full of rich people that go to this resort, and you learn more about their lives and things like that, and everyone's really unlikable. A lot of great characters, a lot of great actors are in this, and the second season a little bit more because I was more invested in the characters, because Aubrey Plaza is in it, the guy that plays Theo from Divergent's in it in the second season. Jennifer Coolidge is in it again the second season. And I found those characters, I just found that dynamic a little bit more intriguing. Like, I was really much more involved with that one. So I did like the second season a little bit more. The murders that happen, they're kind of like I don't want to say like a fun bonus, but they're just kind of on the back burner. You're mainly focusing on these characters and kind of their rich goings on, also while all of them have this really crappy life that they don't really talk about. So as far as ratings go, I would give season 1 like a 3.5 and season 2 a 4 out of 5. I enjoyed it. I will continue on if they decide to continue on with this series. But next up is Fleischmann is in Trouble. So I watched this one because, I don't know, it intrigued me when I heard about it. It stars Jesse Eisenberg as Fleischmann, who is a Jewish doctor in New York, and him and his wife, who is played by Claire Danes, are divorcing. They have 2 kids, and you really get his perspective. The voiceover is done all by Lizzie Kaplan. I thought her voiceover work was phenomenal. Like, she really set the tone for this show, and I think that's why I enjoyed it so much, is the way that it was told. Like, it was kind of like she was reading you a book about Fleischmann, but she was the narrator of it, and I thought that was really great. I love how they did that with that. But yeah, she's actually in the show as well, where she's one of Fleischmann's friends from college, and he reconnects with them because he's going through this really bitter divorce. And the first few episodes, you really get his side, and you get really mad at the wife because she's horrible. And then a couple episodes, you learn the wife's perspective, and you start to feel for them. And it just really shows how divorce is not just one-sided. Like, it really, like, it just shows that some divorces are not one-sided. Sometimes, yes, they are. But a lot of times, it's about a dissolution of a relationship on both fronts. Like, both of them are very, very different. Both of them have problems. Both of them have brought problems in this marriage. And the ending, I would have liked the first season a little bit more from the wife's perspective. I feel like we only got 1 episode where we really got to dive into what she thought of things and things like that. And also we got an episode where it was about Lizzie, I don't know her name, I'm sorry, Lizzie Kaplan's perspective. I would have liked that more. So I don't think this is going to have a second season. This was a limited series, but I actually really enjoyed it. I would give it a 4 out of 5. If you just want to see the dissolution of a marriage and things like that. I love watching and reading dichotomy of marriages. I don't know why. I'm not like a psychiatrist or that at all, but I like that. I don't know. I enjoyed it. All the things I've watched recently, what am I watching right now? Absolutely nothing. I'm rewatching stuff because that's what I do. I have periods where I watch a lot of things, and I have periods where I don't. So I'm in the period right now where I'm not watching anything. I would love to know what you've watched recently that you would recommend to me, because I do need recommendations, because sometimes I have no clue what to watch. And yeah, you can clearly tell my taste by watching this and seeing what things I listed. As always, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.